Now, I'd like to talk very quickly about this whole notion of listening to the constituents. We talked about what the incumbent did with the TARP, this troubled asset relief program, this $700 billion bailout of Wall Street banks. And I find that offensive. But what I found more offensive was his description of how he came to that decision. And you may have heard him say this before. He said the easier thing to do would have been to vote for it. And that's okay. But what he also said was that he heard from us, from his constituents, at a rate of 9-to-1 to vote against it. 9-to-1, we said, don't vote for it, don't vote for it, don't vote for it. But he talked to a former Speaker of the House. He talked to a representative from another state. He talked to a political mentor, a retired politician from Arkansas. And he consulted with a Washington, D.C. think tank, one of these organizations that does research and write papers. And after he did that, after he talked to them, he voted for it. 9-to-1, we said, don't do it. And we are the constituents. But he said, I'm going to vote for it because I've talked to these people and that was their view. Folks, that is wrong. We need to listen to the constituents. There's a big word in that first one up there, and I will apologize for that, and it's ombudsman, and if you say it 3 times, you win a prize. But the whole principle here is that, I don't know about you, but I like to be heard. And I like to know that someone is working my problem. Now, I'm not about building up big staffs, but a promise that I make to you is that if you put me in Washington, we will take existing staff, and then every one of the 12 counties in the district will have an ombudsman. And that person's job is to say, okay, Doug Kaler called, and he's got a problem, and I'm going to do my best to fix it. And Doug knows that that's his ombudsman. So we're going to do that right away. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to create a hotline. And, you know, you've been in positions of responsibility, and you know that your time isn't always yours, but you also know that sometimes you're sitting at the desk writing nice notes back to constituents. That hotline would ring on my desk. And when I'm in the office, I will answer it. And if I'm not available, the ombudsman will answer it for your county. The point being that you have a right for your representative to be listening for your call. So we will do that as well. Now the other thing that we're going to do is we're going to set up, and we've got lots of techno-geeko guys, where we're going to create a website that lets you register as a constituent in the district. And we will confirm who you are, we will confirm that you're really a citizen and all that. But then as part of that, what we will let you do is vote on issues before they come to vote on the floor of the House. And it'll be accessible to any member. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Mike will go on to the next one. Now, that's that bullet 4 up there. And the principle is, if 9-to-1, you tell me don't vote for something, I'm going to not vote for it. And the only circumstances in which I would go against the votes of the constituents would be if the proposal were illegal, immoral, unethical, or unconstitutional. How would I dare say I'm smarter than the constituents? How would I dare say I'm going to go consult with some political friends and decide to vote the way they want me to vote, even though my constituents say don't vote for it? So you control the vote, as long as it's the right thing to do. Now, number 5 you see up there is something you're seeing a lot of right now. And folks, I don't know if you've noticed, but our politicians have been in town, and they really want to hear you. Well, let me be a little bit cynical. If you didn't know there's an election coming up, and if you didn't notice, this happens very frequently when elections are coming up. And they want to hear from you right before elections come up. And then we go back to the regular way of doing business. Folks, we will have regularly scheduled forums in this district if I'm in office, irrespective of when an election is coming up. And for those of you that don't know me, I am a bit of a ham in a very literal way and in another way. I think we need to do something like a call-in show even more frequently. And the last thing you see up here about listening is we will do a regularly scheduled web broadcast, and you can dial in on the phone if you don't have access to the internet, and you can lay things out and say, Skoch, I think you're blowing it on this one, and everyone will hear what you're saying, and it will be much like a call-in show. But the point is, for all of this, is you own the legislature. Right now, we've got a few people that own the legislators, in my opinion, but you own the legislature, and they work for you, and they ought to be listening to you every step of the way. Now, let me now change gears and talk about two very sensitive and delicate but important issues. And I want to talk about this thing about combating illegal immigration. And the warning sign you see up there is the sign that shows up on the borders when they haven't been shot at and torn down. And it says, warning, you're entering the territory of the United States of America, and if you don't check in with an immigration agent, you will be here illegally. Let's talk about that. Next chart, Mike. This is not, as I said earlier, about legal immigrants. I do not want anyone to think, particularly with my heritage and background, that I'm against legal immigration. I am not. But we have laws that govern our land. And those laws say how people can arrive here legally. So this is about people who don't do that. It is not about hating any ethnic group. It's not about saying any ethnic group is deficient. I'm not at all saying that. I love the rich, diverse tapestry that all the cultures bring to the United States. I am not against that, and I want that made very clear. Next chart. Here are some interesting statistics. We don't know how many illegal immigrants are here in the United States right now. The best numbers I can find are between 12 and 22 million. Next chart. We believe about 500,000 are from any country other than Mexico. So the preponderance of them probably come from our neighbor immediately to the south. We have seen $36 billion wired to Mexico since the year 2006. This is money that people have probably legitimately earned in some cases, but maybe in some cases it came by other means and has been electronically transferred. We have seen $302 billion sent to Latin America since the year 2001. $302 billion. We have spent about $400 billion on social services for illegal immigrants since the year 1996. We have about 5 million children of illegal immigrants in our public schools today. And you can see that the cost of educating them is about $14 billion. We now have about 500,000 illegal immigrants incarcerated, but more important to me is that that's about $1.5 billion that we spent since the year 2001 on that incarceration. And we think that there are probably 750,000 illegal immigrants who are fugitives from the law right now. And you can see that there are probably about 11 million jobs that illegal immigrants hold that probably rightfully should be held by someone who has come here the correct way, the lawful way. Now, those are good numbers, but there are other costs. I mean, aside from the direct financial cost that you see stipulated there, think about